Welcome, everybody, to Wager Talk Today. I'm Lawrence Presman. What a show we got lined up. Andy Lang, Gianni The Greek. We're going to end the show with Jeff. They call him the Mad Russian. Tons of NFL we're going to talk about today. Jeff's going to look at Jacksonville and Cleveland, the LA Chargers and Carolina. My personal pick will be on the Sunday night game, Chicago versus Houston. Johnny's going to look at some UFC with Andy, as well as UAB in college football. And Teddy covers. You got a sexy big game breakdown. What is it?
Colorado versus Colorado State, Saturday night national TV. We'll break that one down. And, of course, we'll talk about the aftermath of last night's Bills-Dolphins game and what bettors learned.
Guys, tonight between 10 and 10:01, Teddy will be logging into Instagram Live while having sex. Make sure to check that out, 10 to 10:01 on Teddy's Instagram. You going to be able to make it a minute?
I don't have an Instagram.
Andy Lang!
You heard something about Shannon Sharp before the show, and then instead of talking about Shannon Sharp, somehow it comes to me. You're excited about the Shannon Sharp video that you haven't watched and didn't hear of until
yeah, dude. Somebody put up the name of the girl. I want to Google her. I am a perverted man. I have no problem admitting it. I must see who this female was. Anyway, okay, let's move on.
Yes.
Andy Lang.
I cannot apologize to Teddy enough. I had just assumed that Prez had seen this, so I made a little reference to it, and it turned out he had not. So I opened the floodgates, and Teddy, I cannot apologize enough. I will just say it one time. I am sorry.
Okay. Well, he accepts your apology. So Andy, I listen, dude. I spent the week like studying NFL, watching TV, working out. I rode 20 kilometers today. I missed it. What can I say? Let's get into some actionable sports betting information. Start off with UFC, and then you've got a prop bet for us in the NFL coming this Sunday. Diego Lopez against Brian Ortega. Brian is minus 180. Where are we going in this one?
Yeah, we're going to take Diego Lopez, who's actually the favorite. Prez, it's Diego Lopez fight week. The best hair in all of UFC. Every time Diego Lopez fights, we need to break down his fight because he does have the best hair. It's indisputable. So this is somewhat of a rematch. This fight was booked a while ago, and a big red flag for Brian Ortega. The weight cut was so bad for him, he had to pull out. He was sick and just couldn't make it to the ring. So crazy. They found a fighter that was literally sitting on the couch a few miles away to come in and replace Brian Ortega the day of the fight. So what we got here is Brian Ortega, who is, he's on the back end of his career, and he does not seem very excited. He was quoted as saying, I know my chances of getting a title shot are over. He's moving weight divisions because the weight cuts are not going well, and this is a guy that has just been around for a while, and there's a lot of wear and tear. 2 fights ago, he lost because of a shoulder injury in the middle of the fight. Comes back in the next fight, and even though he wins because his opponent gets hurt. Yair Rodriguez gets hurt in the fight. So we look at Diego Lopez, who is the new up-and-comer. He is fantastic, and this big advantage he's going to have is on the feet. His striking is so much better than Brian Ortega's. Ortega's advantage normally in these fights are on the ground with the submissions, but Diego Lopez has fantastic jiu-jitsu. He has fantastic submission defense, and he has fantastic submission offense. So Brian Ortega normally thrives. It's actually going to be a wash. And if Diego Lopez keeps us on the feet, Brian Ortega is just not a natural striker. The volume is there for Ortega, but the power and the bigger shots are absolutely going to be with Diego Lopez. So I'm just fading Brian Ortega here, who's on the downside of his career. His striking is going to be a big time mismatch here. Diego Lopez is the kind of the young up and coming guy. I expect him to be in the mix for a title fight pretty soon, especially if he pulls off this win, taking Diego Lopez on the money line.
So today is Friday the 13th. If you use the promo code FRI, FRI13, you're going to get 13% off everything in your cart at checkout today. So take advantage of that special offer. Again, promo code FRI13. You get 13% off, a nice little discount for anything that you want to buy on Friday which includes Andy's UFC card for tomorrow. Andy, I'm seeing the lot of line variance on this right now, as low as minus 180, as high as minus 220. It looks like the money's come for Lopez pretty significantly since the opener. Is this one you want to bet sooner rather than later, or is this one that you might want to wait until closer to the fight?
I think I would grab the line now. I think the public is going to be on Diego Lopez. He's very popular. He was just one of the coaches on The Ultimate Fighter with Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko, who are actually fighting on this card. So there's just going to be a lot of attention. It's UFC Noche. I think the public is going to be on Lopez, so I would bet it sooner rather than later.
Andy Lang joining us, everyone. One of the best sports bettors on the planet, that is for sure. Dan, a lot of people are asking what exactly you are smoking today. If you can let me know, whisper in my ear. It's not Brian Lopez versus Diego Lopez. One of their last names is Ortega, and it's okay. Just what are you on today?
Honest mistake. It was an honest.
Oh, the don't be a. Oh, hey. Speaking of which, we have a new image that we require. Teddy came up with it yesterday. As you guys know, Teddy yesterday told me to go F myself in the middle of the show privately on Slack.
Thinking about doing it again today, for what it's worth.
Yeah, so
probably well deserved.
After the show, Teddy is like, what were the words? Totally too obnoxious to handle. He was like, Prez, you were too obnoxious to handle. So I said to him, next time, just put Toth. So if you could do a Toth image, comes across the screen, then I will get cued in to know that I'm just too obnoxious to handle. Okay, Andy. Chuba Hubbard, a Canadian. Chuba Hubbard. I messed it up. I'm too obnoxious to handle. I got it. Channel it. Chuba Hubbard, a Canadian who did not amount to much, but he did make the NFL. So from a Canadian perspective, that's an impressive feat. How do we bet this guy on Sunday?
I'm really confused where they came up with this rushing total at 45.5. So I will happily take the under on Chuba Hubbard's rushing yards here. We go back to last week, 6 carries for 14 yards against New Orleans. I know the game script got way out of hand, but I don't know. There's a chance this could get out of hand for Carolina if Bryce Young is as bad as he was last week. The Panthers only ran the ball 20 times, and Hubbard only had 6 of those carries. We saw Miles Sanders get some carries. We saw Bryce Young tuck it and run. Panthers only had 2.9 yards per carry last week. And looked at the Chargers. They were pretty good against the run, only allowed 3.2 yards per carry. Another big red flag. Panthers only had 23 minutes of possession last week. And if the Chargers get up, Harbaugh is going to use J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards quite a bit to control the clock and run this thing out. So I'm not really sure Chuba Hubbard has the offensive line to get him over this total. I'm not sure he gets the opportunities to get over this total. So I'll take this 45.5 under pretty confidently.
So to me, this correlates really strongly with the game itself. If you expect the Chargers to win and cover and dominate time of possession and control the flow and to have Carolina down by a couple of scores, Hubbard's not going to get the runs. If you think that Carolina, after getting annihilated last week, might have a little bit of a different game plan this time around, teams off a 35 plus point loss tend to be pretty focused the next week, and you can see a very different game plan. And obviously, if Carolina does what they want to do, they're going to be running the football a lot more than they did a week ago when they trailed throughout. Is this a situation where this prop and your opinion of the game are correlated pretty strongly? Is this a bet on the Chargers in a different way?
So I'm not going to bet on the Chargers. I really focus on the props. But if the Chargers are winning, this play looks really, really good. So, yes, it is correlated. I guess it's not completely 100% correlated because the Panthers could absolutely win this game and he's still not get over. Like this could be Bryce Young throws some touchdowns. What if the Chargers turn the ball over, inside their territory, and there's just not a lot of yards? We've seen very wonky things happen in the NFL. So, like, if you really are a big believer that the Panthers are as bad as they were last week and the Chargers are going to roll, if you got the domestic books, you could absolutely try and roll with some kind of same game parlay of like the Chargers money line with this play under. Maybe with Bryce Young to throw an interception. I don't know. You could get pretty complicated with it. I'm going to try and keep it pretty simple here and say there's just a lot of paths where Chuba Hubbard does not get over this one. I think it would take kind of a big play like we saw last night with James Cook, which, by the way, cashed my best bet for that game. So, however, are the Panthers good enough to get a big 50-yard run? They haven't shown that yet. So I'll just stick with this prop. But, yes, the correlation is there.
Andy Lang, everyone. Guys, our promo today, a spooktacular Friday. It's Friday the 13th. Use the promo code FRI13 at checkout. You get 13% off of any package. Andy, why should they use it on you, my friend?
Because we're up 155 units this year. We were up 91 units last year. We hit our 4% best bet last week. We've turned a profit 10 out of 11 weeks. We've got UFC up. We've got our college football play. We are 14-5 the last 2 years in college football plays. And we've got our NFL pack up. So that's why, because we win.
Andy Lang. And Andy, by the way, I know you don't care, but I like the black shirt. I think it looks better on you than the red. You look outstanding. You look marvelous.
Thank you very much. My wife prefers the red and the blue, but duly noted that if you're digging the dark colors.
Who's going live on Instagram with you tonight? Your wife or me?
We'll probably lay off that. We'll probably lay off the Instagram live. So
okay.
And by the way, Teddy, that was your response of I don't have Instagram was the best. It wasn't the actual act. It was that you just can't actually do it because you don't have an Instagram. That was fantastic. Thank you so much, guys. Good luck on your bets, everyone.
There you go, Andy Lang. Teddy, my kid keeps posting about her trip. She's Ubering, or as she calls it, backpacking through Europe. And she's posting on Instagram, and I did not know how it worked. So literally half an hour before this show begun, she had to explain to me the story and how to get it. Anyway, nobody cares, especially you. What did bettors learn in the wonderful world of sports betting?
Not only did nobody care, Lawrence, people genuinely don't care. But tell us again about your daughter's trip to Europe, please.
Why,
you gave us a year and a half on the show yesterday. We need more today. So let's talk about what happened last night. All right. Thursday night football results are much more random than normal results. Plain and simple. Last year, the Bears scored 40 on Thursday night football. They didn't score more than 30 in any other game all season. They were not a good offensive team. That was by far their season high. And then, of course, the Raiders scored 63 against the Chargers. And the Raiders weren't a good offensive team either. And that, too, was by far their season high. The Patriots beat a playoff team on the road. Thursday night football is a little random. It really is. And that's kind of why I'm pissed off this morning. I really should have played Buffalo for the clients and myself last night. Instead, it was a free play opinion. And once again, I'm a dumbass. You always want your free plays to win. I get it. But I hate it when it's just a free play, not a client play, and it's just a rocket chair winner like last night's game was. But Thursday night football is a little random. And I was like, yeah, I'll tap the brakes and whatever. I should have played it as a client play. Said it was a free play. We'll deal with it. But coaching has a lot to do with it. I said it in my big game breakdown when I talked about the game earlier in the week. Sean McDermott was 6-0 on Thursday night football, now 7-0 on Thursday night football, dating back to 2018. And that's a meaningful angle, in my opinion. That's not a random trend. Same coach, same team. He's an organized guy to begin with, and the Bills have been consistently ready for Thursday night. Most teams aren't. All right, we're not going to say it's McDermott good. It's not everyone else bad. Because most teams just can't get ready. I'm not going to downgrade Miami too bad for the shoddy showing. Of course, they do have extra prep time for that trip to Seattle, which could be a nice bet on opportunity, obviously, if we can handle the quarterback situation. We can downgrade Miami, of course, with Tua likely being out and Skylar Thompson. Looks like he's going to get the start. Thompson might be all right. The look-ahead line for that game worth noting: Dolphins opened -1.5, 48.5. We'll see how much the books adjust for the Tua injury on Sunday. That's what I learned last night, Lawrence. Back to you, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, Teddy, we speak about that all the time. That concept of, is it better to miss winners than give out losers? And obviously, miss winners is the way, but it affects me too, dude. I mean, I loved the under all week. I told everybody I loved the under. I gave it out free. I gave it out in every place I could. And yeah, it arguably got lucky. I could argue the other side, but I would have lost my shit in the first half had I have released the under to my clients. And I too liked Buffalo and got a lot of slack from people. Miami's going to crush them, this, that, and the other. There's a reason Buffalo has now won 12 out of 13. There's against this team. But yeah, dude, Tua, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with his concussion. Lots of love to everybody in the chat room. Eric, Natural, Pezzy, Ray, B-Daddy, Russ, Bradford. Haven't seen your name before. Welcome, brother. Vegas, Dez, Bill Sandoval. You guys, if you don't mind taking a second out of your day and hitting that like button, it would be so greatly appreciated. Also, we've now got 100. Yes, Teddy, you're about to say something?
I'm just pressing the like button. I'm giving.
We also 170,000 subscribers, Teddy, which I'm so proud of. We're definitely going to crack 200K by the end of this football season. Guys, we still got lots of show ahead. Gianni the Greek, the hurricane, the tornado, the biggest wave on the planet. A man full of energy, vim, and vigor. Are you with us?
Yes, sir. Forgive me. I was just making a couple trades. You see Ethereum, Bitcoin, they're on their way up. They're on their way up.
Is this fake? Like, be honest here. Every time we go to you, you're in the middle of making a trade. Every time, without fail.
I can't help it. This is when it all happens. This is when it all happens in the morning, the first 2 hours of when the market opens. And then after that, it's the institutions pushing the price. So you can't trade. After 10 a.m. Pacific, you shut it down. You have no shot. But it's early in the morning that you have to make them all. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Your Bitcoin's going up. Your Ethereum's going up. The chart looks good for them. So all's good. All's good right now.
Real quick, let me jump in. Are you talking about a bet or a trade? Are these two different things we're talking about?
Two different things. Two different things. Yes, sir. Crypto. I was trading some crypto right now. A little bit of crypto.
Yeah, and
I'm
Gianni,
out of the stock market completely.
Gianni, listen, we're going to talk a lot. We're going to talk NFL football. We're going to talk college football. We've got some UFC coming your way. But let's stay on crypto for a second. I think we're going to see a nice Bitcoin run over the next 8 to 12 weeks. What are your thoughts there? I think right now is a great buy opportunity. I think we're going to get to a Bitcoin high sometime in late November.
Here's what I can tell you. Right now, the Bitcoin risk versus the dollar risk, it's a buy. It's a buy signal. If you're willing to hold right now for 5 years or longer, buy today. If you're not willing to hold for 5 years or longer, I can't guarantee you it will be profitable. Right now, the risk based on where the dollar is, it's been profitable every time. If you bought it at this risk level, if you've held it for 60 months or higher, it's never failed at this risk level based compared to the dollar. With that said, I do think the economy is in for a big downslide. I think all my money's out of the stock market. It's all sitting in T-bills right now. I have no cash, not even $1 in any of the stocks. I dumped them all, Prez. I really think what's coming is going to be ugly. I don't think it's going to be as ugly as what's coming 5+ years from now, but this will be a small taste of what's ahead for all the dollars that they printed. Someone's got to pay that price. You can't print that much money in that short a time and not pay for it. We're now paying for what happened in 2020. It will take about a decade for us to truly pay for it, but we're not going to outrun that. We're just lucky that the rest of the world's worse off than us. That's where we're lucky, that the dollar's still the reserve currency, so everyone else is doing worse than us. That's where we're saved. Otherwise, rest assured, it would be ugly already.
Okay, brother. Wow. I mean, talk about a bright man. That is for sure. Gianni the Greek with us. Let's get our focus on sports betting.
Yeah, we got some winners.
Yeah, let's get the UFC right out of the way. Then we're going to dig deep into the college football and NFL card. So Ode Osborne, not familiar. Great freaking first name, though. Plus 135. I'm guessing he's male. That's who we're betting? Ode Osborne?
Yes, sir. He's lost 2 straight fights, 3 of his last 4, and he should be favored in this matchup against this opponent. That's the beauty of it. There's recency bias, number 1, coupled with this being the Sphere card. Remember, it's Mexican Independence Day. As Dana White said, if you're of Mexican descent, you need to tune in to that broadcast because you will leave the end of the night feeling like you just watched a Rocky movie if you're Mexican. They are going to celebrate the Mexican heritage more than you could ever imagine. They've been building on this for months. They're going to be showing like 5 movies. They're calling them movies, 90-second clips of the present, of the past, the present, and the future of Mexico. Like, they're really pushing this. There's a ton of pressure on these Mexican fighters, number 1. You saw it at the press conference yesterday. His opponent, Ronaldo Rodriguez, lost it. And unfortunately, this isn't a brawl. You're in an octagon, and any type of emotions are like that are a negative, not a positive, because you're going up against a guy who's extremely technical. And technique's always going to beat that inside an octagon. Outside, maybe not, but inside, technique will win. And the bottom line is I have receipts, meaning forget the fact that they both fought the same opponent and my guy knocked him out in 36 seconds and the other guy lost the decision. What matters most is the price. The market made my guy almost a 3-1 favorite, made the opponent about a plus 150 dog. But it's the recency bias of my guy coming in off a loss, the opponent coming off a nice win. But if you look at his strength of schedule, he's met absolutely nobody. This is a huge step up. Ode Osborne should be the favorite. We're getting him at plus money. This is a 4% release for me. If I didn't already fire 5%, this would probably be it. I may upgrade it, to be honest with you, because if the line goes up higher tomorrow, it's going to warrant more money on Ode Osborne. But I love him in this spot. I just think this line's so off.
Let's shift our focus to some college football for tomorrow. We have the Arkansas Razorbacks in something of a flat spot. They're coming off an overtime loss at Oklahoma State, a very frustrating loss for anyone who bet Arkansas early in the week in that contest. And, of course, next week, they travel to Auburn for their SEC opener. And in between, all they have is this little UAB team, a UAB team that got annihilated by Louisiana Monroe last week. How do we break it down? UAB at Arkansas. Right now, what are we looking at? 23.5. At the WagerTalk live odds screen, the prevailing number, 61, the total.
Yes, and I grabbed 24. You should be able to get 24 by Saturday. I expect Arkansas money to come in. If not, it doesn't matter. Take the 23.5. Do not buy the half a point. It's not worth the extra 10 cents to take it from 23.5 to 24. As I had my subscribers yesterday with the Buffalo Bills, I know some of them might have been confused, but I said, do not bet this plus the 2.5. Take the money line. Because if you can get plus 120 or better, it's even better than getting plus 3 at minus 125, 120. Getting the money line at plus 120 was such a better bet on Buffalo yesterday that win or lose, it didn't matter. I knew we were getting the best of it, slept comfortably. Fortunately, it worked out. I feel this way with UAB, meaning it's the overreaction to last week's result. Number 1, they were an 11-point favorite that lost the game outright. I actually like that because, again, the market's going to overreact. Coupled with, how did they lose? Look at that box score. They were minus 3 in turnovers, but more importantly, they didn't throw 3 interceptions. They lost 2 of them on fumbles. Even 50-50 once it hits the ground. The fact that they went 0-2 in fumbles shows just how unlucky they were. And when you're minus 3 in turnovers, you're probably not going to win the game, let alone cover the game. I think we see a bounce back by UAB, and more importantly, like you touched on, Teddy, a flat spot for Arkansas. And I just don't think they're talented enough to just show up and beat this team by 4 touchdowns. You know what I mean? Where if they're not focused on them, I don't think UAB is bad enough that you could just run right through them. They weren't an 11-point favorite by accident last week. We shouldn't overreact off one football game. And I think that's what this number is a reflection of.
Gianni the Greek, brother, Sunday. You're on last call with Kelly, noon Eastern time. due to popular demand, they asked me back.
You should be there every week, bro. Dude, you follow the NFL. Dude, you follow the NFL like religiously. Why wouldn't you? You've done well in it. Why wouldn't you be on?
Well, I
That's
appreciate
like not
you
having
saying
me to
that.
cover MMA.
And last week, one sec, Teddy. And last week, I got every single thing right on that show. So I was asked back, Teddy.
So I was looking in the comments on my videos, and there was someone that was calling me an ass clown and all of that. And he says, I watch Wager Talk for Prez. So there's definitely viewers out there that are just looking for you, Lawrence. Even in my comments, it's sliding through.
Wow. Well,
for real.
Let Teddy know.
That must have been Karen. Oh, Karen. Anyway, there's a Karen that hates on me. Gianni, let's get into well, whatever, dude. When you're me, you're gonna be hated. Like I'm loved, I'm hated. There's no neutral. And it's the same with you, Gianni and Teddy.
Polarizing. We're polarizing
The three of us are polarizing eccentric nutcases. Like, let's be honest here. We're going to be loved. We're going to be hated. We're not going to be forgotten. Gianni, NFL card. Let's go through it quick. Then Teddy will talk college football. And then I got a great question from the chat room for us.
NFL, here's the thing, man. Week 2, I've gone really slow, meaning I haven't been in a rush to get down and fire because this is that overreaction week. Like, there's no way around that. I don't want to sound like, I keep saying I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I've been harping about this since before the season. This is that week you wait for because of the overreactions. And I'll tell you this, early on, I'm looking now, we haven't really gotten down on much NFL. Except around a few key numbers like Jaguars -3, but at -110. Now it's juiced or 3.5. Same thing with the Seahawks at 3. Those you got to be cautious of because they're key numbers. They're taking advantage of key numbers when they think the line's going to move off of it. Especially what I saw the manipulation last week on a lot of the totals, more than the totals than the side. So here's a couple totals real quick that I can confirm are legit. The over in Cincinnati and KC, over 46.5, over 47. I know the public's on them as well, but definitely short money there. And also the Bengals. It looks like it's the Chief because the look ahead, I think, was 3.5. But anytime there was that 6, I know a group that I work with wanted Bengals at 6, Bengals at 6, Bengals at 6. So I believe they think that's an overreaction on the upgrade to that look ahead. I think, injury related, it's hard to quantify. Some of those you expect the overreaction. And what else stuck out real fast? Oh, the Chargers. Obviously, there was going to be recency bias at how bad Carolina looked. That's why I think a lot of times in week 2, because I remember from moving it, you see a lot of takebacks come Sunday. So a lot of this is taking advantage of where they think the public money is going to come in heavy. Like, and if you could lay -4.5 on the Chargers and get +6, 6.5, maybe even a rogue 7 on Panthers Sunday and have a nice middle, why wouldn't you? And I think that's what we're seeing a lot of. But the legit ones, again, you could see which ones they are, like the Cardinals, where they took +2 and the money line. It's a series that the Rams have won like 8 of the last 10 straight up. So you're not going to try to manipulate that line because more times than not, the public isn't going to help you. They're not going to be on the Arizona team, even as home dogs. Both these teams coming in off a loss, but I think the Rams obviously are going to get more respect. So seeing that switch, like you don't have to worry about that not being a legit move. But be cautious early on drawing conclusions off these line moves because there's a lot of buybacks come Sunday. Rest assured, the public's affecting these lines more than ever before just because of how mainstream sports betting is. Like I'm seeing it more and more, Teddy, where you got to confirm like what moved this line. And a lot of times you're seeing it's public money just forcing the action where before it was sharp or nothing. They'll book that NFL all day.
Gianni, of course, has been moving for groups for many, many years. That's how he came to Las Vegas. We used to call him the Mover. We call him Ace. We call him the Greek, the man with more nicknames than anybody. Let's shift our focus to college football. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you betting for college football this year?
All right. On the Oregon over Oregon State, a lot of recency bias on a couple of these big favorites. where I saw the betting state is not afraid to lay the chalk. Like where they laid the 14, the books knew it was a legit move, pumped it up to 16 right away. And they were hitting the 16, Teddy, through off screen. That was the thing that came across my thing, off screen. So they didn't want it to get up to 17. They wanted to get enough money down on Oregon pre-17. Whenever that happens, where they hit a number like minus 14, and then the books immediately go to 16, go up 2 points because the limit, they hit it so hard or simultaneously, but then they want even more money down and they don't want it past a key number. 17 isn't real key, but it matters more than 16. And that's what they did here, where it came in off screen, lay Missouri. It laid the Oregon, and the same thing I saw with the Missouri side against Boston College. So those are two big favorites that they were not afraid to lay, especially Oregon, who didn't look all that great last week. Couple other sides, Central Florida plus 1.5, and pick Rice plus 4.5, plus 4. New Mexico State plus 3 touchdowns. Virginia Tech minus 13.5. What else did I give you? Oh, under Tulane, Oklahoma. Took the 14 on Tulane, under 51, 50.5, 50, and 49.5. Seems correlated. If you like 14 points with Tulane, it stays under, should get there. So those are a couple of the early moves so far for Saturday.
Gianni the Greek, everyone. Let's race through this because we're right up against it. Stephen Hubbs has asked this question 3 times this week. I told him we would discuss it real quick when you are on, Gianni. So here it is. Prez, about a professional bettor's bankroll. He wants to know if he should increase his bankroll. What is the average size of a pro capper bankroll? Now, I'm going to answer that question right now. And Gianni, just say whether you think I'm right or wrong here real quick. It's all relative, Stephen. We can't sit there and tell you to up your bankroll. We have no idea what your net worth is. We have no idea what your risk ratio is at all. Here is what I'm going to tell you. Look at everything from a financial perspective holistically. So if you have $1 million, call it, as your net worth, I am suggesting that 20% of that money is in a risky, in the risky side of your portfolio. 80% of that money is in safe bets. 20% of that money is in risky bets. Inside of that 20 is where your gambling bankroll lies. For me personally, 5% of my net worth is my betting bankroll. 15% of my net worth is in crypto, and 80% of my net worth is in real estate and stock. That's how I've divided it. Gianni, real quick.
It's up to you. Once you have an edge, you get to decide what your risk of ruin is based on your bankroll. You could decide to have a 10% risk of ruin, 20% risk of ruin, which means you will double your bank 8 out of 10 times. You will lose it 2 out of 10 times. To do that, you need 400 units. To work with an 80% double, 20% loss, you need 400 units. To get that to 1% risk of ruin, meaning you will double your bank 99 out of 100 times, you need 1,000 units if you have an edge. So that means if you have a $10,000 bankroll, if you got a 10-dime bankroll, you got to be betting 100 a game max. Few people are ever going to do that. I think that's what the math comes, or it's come to $10, but something along those lines. Like, it's very small, and few people do that. Most work with a high risk of ruin. They're betting, when you're betting 7, 8, 10% of your bankroll per play, you're working with a 90+% risk of ruin.
That's not a good
even
plan.
With an edge. Exactly. You're going to lose your bankroll 9 out of 10 times, even with an edge. So it all based on what you want your risk to be. The smaller the percentage to bankroll, the better it is for you. That's it.
Gianni, we got to let you go, bro. Awesome. We love you.
Guys. Good luck.
You're the best. Thank you so much for joining us. Teddy covers. We got your big game breakdown, and Jeff still to come. 10 minutes left of the show. Let's hear it, my brother.
So, for some reason, Deion Sanders is a lightning rod in Colorado. Strange, isn't that? Attracting a lot of attention for formerly a moribund program, but a relatively low-profile program over the last 25 years. That's not the case circa 2024. And, of course, Colorado faces Colorado State this week. Looking at the free WagerTalk live odds screen, I'm seeing the Buffs pretty much -7 across the board, total sitting in the 59 range for this in-state rivalry. Well, I'm not so sure it's an in-state rivalry. It's a one-way rivalry. the kids from Fort Collins, the smaller school, the kids that weren't recruited by Dion, they're interested. Is Colorado worried about Colorado State? These aren't local kids. I would say that the Buffs less interested in this game, perhaps, than their opponent. Now, Colorado does have 6 straight wins in the series. The last Rams win was in 2014. And before last year, the previous 4 wins all came by 2 touchdowns or more. Colorado went 4-0 against the spread. But last year, Colorado State was a 22-point underdog after Colorado had beaten TCU and Nebraska to open the season. And it was a pretty easy game. If you had Colorado State plus the points I did last year, they should have won the game outright. They blew an 11-point fourth quarter lead, lost in double overtime, covered wire to wire. This year's Colorado team, no shock here. They are what we thought they were. They have an elite quarterback. They have an elite playmaker in Travis Hunter. They have a dicey defense. They have a dicey offensive line. And they have a lack of depth. And when you're talking about, do I want to lay a touchdown on the road with a team with those characteristics against their rival? And oh, by the way, the quarterback just threw, with his comments, basically much of the team under the bus. All right, Shadur Sanders, his post-game comments after Colorado lost last week are meaningful and significant when you're talking about team chemistry. It's a different story for Jay Norvell. I'll talk about him in just a second. I do want to let you guys know about a great deal right now at WagerTalk.com. 30 days, all access, college football, the NFL, just $1.99. That's a savings of more than 20%. There's no coupon code needed. It's right on my page. It's right on every page at WagerTalk.com. Again, 30 days, all access, football, just $1.99. It's a great opportunity to get on board and heading into the weekend. So Jay Norvell, 3-9 his first year, 5-7 last year. So the program's pointing in the right direction. And the offense nearly doubled their production from year 1 to year 2, literally. They got absolutely annihilated by Texas on opening day. It was 52-0. Bounced back last week. The quarterback, Braden Fowler, Nicolosi, looked fine. And Colorado is in Texas. Don't be fooled. The Rams just got into the new Pac-12, a confidence boost. The program's going somewhere. National TV, Fort Collins, Saturday night. The place will be rocking. I think they're live dogs in this one. Give me Colorado State plus the points. What do you think? Let me know with a comment below or a like right now. Thanks for watching. Lawrence?
Teddy covers. Let's keep moving. Jeff, the Mad Russian, joining us. We got 7 minutes to go in the show. I love the check in the background, brother. Nice to have you with us. How you been?
Doing great, guys. Thank you so much for having me. I just got to take a second to say this is the first time I've got to meet Teddy Covers, and just want to let you know, Teddy, like, this is an absolute honor to meet you. You're a true legend in this industry, as we all know, and I have a ton of respect for you. Not to say I don't have a ton of respect for you too, Lawrence. I already met you first, but thank you again both for having me. I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, Dan, if you could cue the tape from when Jeff came on to my to the first appearance where Teddy wasn't here. I don't remember any of those words. Like, literally not. I think it was like, "Oh, Steve Merrill, I love you, Steve. You're a legend." So,
hey,
yeah.
Dan, I need to know Dan's Venmo account real quick. Dan, can you shoot that over to me in Slack, please?
Yeah. Way to go, Jeff. Now that you're endeared yourself to Teddy, let's move on. How did you do for week 1 NFL for your clients and for the contests?
Well, I wish I could tell you I killed it, guys. It didn't really go really well. Now, my record on WagerTalk is going to say 3-3-1, but I doubled down on Jacksonville plus 3 and a hook. So really, I'm going to say truthfully, it's 2-3-1. I'm not going to take the edge on that. And the contest, I went 2-3 in the circuit contest. So it wasn't one of those days, but you know what? I can say I'm due. I'm ready.
Okay, I feel exactly the same way. Let's get into the first game. Jacksonville. There were 3s, then it went to 3.5. Then we saw a buyback down to 3. Right now it's around 3 everywhere. How do we bet this game?
So I'm still a little bit in shock with what Jacksonville did and how they found a way to lose that game. I was at the Circa watching that game, and I had to get a few extra beers after that happened, because I'll tell you, I just didn't – it was unbelievable the way ETN fumbled in the end zone. I mean, if they walk away with a win right there, I think this line – kind of comes out on more around a 4 to a 4.5, but they find a way to lose it. They did a really good job of establishing a run game there. They rushed for 148 yards, 128 yards and a touchdown. Lawrence only had 12 completions in the game, so he's got a lot of room for growth. Dallas went into Cleveland, and they rushed for over 100 yards in week 1. So I feel like the Jags are going to take a very similar approach of being very heavy run game approach to try to slow down Garrett and Smith coming off the edges. Jacksonville's coming in with just a few scratches, but if you look at Cleveland, they are all banged up. They put 4 guys on the defense in the IR, including Thornhill, their starting safety. This is a huge loss, tight end Njoku. You lose him, you're losing 81 receptions, 900 yards roughly, and also 6 touchdowns from last year. He actually led the team in receiving last week with a whopping 44 yards. But these guys are already short on weapons. This stings losing him big time. They've got 3 starting O-linemen that are questionable. I know they got 2 tackles back. That's going to help them some. But they got 3 starting, and they're just one play away from one of those guys going down. And, and then I find out yesterday that Garrett and Smith are questionable. They didn't practice yesterday, and it looks like they're both going to play. But finally, I think Watson, when it's all said and done, is completely lost this locker room. I watched when, his right guard was on the ground, and Watson reached his hand out, and he pushed him away. Like, they're over his rear end. He's got another accuser right now coming out of the woodworks talking to the NFL as we speak. And, unfortunately, he lost his father and a teammate a couple weeks ago. I wouldn't be surprised, guys, if we didn't see Crab Legs Winston come in here in the next couple of weeks. I think it's going to happen. The only hesitation I have on this game is it's calling for possible thunderstorms. We know Lawrence doesn't do great in the rain, but I'm still going to take the Jags here -3, and I did make it a client play too as well.
So Cleveland's one of these teams that was fairly highly regarded coming into the season, and they looked awful last week. Are we selling low on Cleveland here? Or do you think there's much more room for aggression?
I think there is some room for improvement just because I do have a lot of faith in Stefanski and what he offers. But I honestly believe that until they make a change, potentially at quarterback, I just don't – until this guy shows me something. Teddy, he hasn't had a good game in 4 years. So until they make a switch there.
They got to get Chubb back. They got to turn this into a running offense. Teddy, I love that question. I think Cleveland is a disaster. And until frankly, if I'm on the team, I wouldn't even play if Watson was on the team. But I've had that conversation. Well, I'm not calling a criminal pig my teammate. I refuse. Anyway, LA Chargers at Carolina. Jeff, real quick. I know we're up against it, and I apologize. Gianni, I give him as much room as he wants.
I tell you, he's a tough follow. Go ahead. So I'll be quick on this. Chargers, we know they've got an identity, guys. They run the crap out of the football. They play action off that success. They're going to use that same strategy coming into this game. We know that travels well when they do that. They compiled 167 yards versus Vegas, and they dominated the trenches, only gave up 71 rushing yards on the D. I think that, and then here's a big blow was Derek Brown with the defensive lineman from Carolina going down. He's a stud. He's ranked 4th by PFF. So they losing him is a big deal. I think that Jesse Minter, the defense coordinator, is going to dial up some packages to take advantage of this low-end offensive line. And I think Bosa and Mack are going to have an absolute field day here. Nose to nose, I think Carolina might be the worst team in the league, neck and neck with the Giants. And then one last note to make is if you look at what Bryce Young's what his stats were last week, 13 for 30, 161 yards, 2 INTs, a 32.8. Guys, I went online and I found a passer rating calculator. And if that guy chucked all 30 balls into the stands instead of throwing it to anyone, he would have had a 7 points higher rating than what he had for that game. That's how sad it was. So wow. I feel confident in this one. This is also going to be a client play. I don't like laying this many points when the over-under is south of 40, but I'm going to do it here and give me the Chargers -4.5 or 5, wherever you get it.
Are the Chargers good enough to lay more than a field goal with?
I think that they are. I really do. I think this is this much of a mismatch within the trenches, Teddy. And I think that, it's probably going to be a slow kill where, they might be up 3 at half and eventually be up 10 by the end of the game. I think they've got enough firepower within the trenches to get it done and make it happen and cover this line.
There we go. Jeff, the Mad Russian. You got a promo to give out. What is it, brother?
So it's promo MAD20, and it gives you 20% off any of my packages at all. And I'd love to have you. I definitely do here. So looking forward to a good week and making some changes.
Jeff, you will be on the show every Friday, same spot. Thrilled to have you, my friend. Thanks for being part of the WagerTalk family. Teddy covers. We got our daily presidential address still to come, but we're going to make that a bonus. Take us home.
Sure, that's going to wrap it for the week here on Wager Talk Today. We'll do it again next week, each and every weekday live, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon back east. Don't forget Wager Talk Last Call on the weekends with Kelly Stewart as our host. Great shows both Saturday and Sunday leading off into kickoff for college football and the NFL. Between now and Wager Talk Last Call tomorrow and Wager Talk Today on Monday, enjoy the games. Best of luck with your bets and stay tuned for Lawrence's daily presidential address.
Welcome, everybody, to the daily presidential address. I'm Lawrence Pressman, and I've got a pick for you on the Sunday night football game. Chicago plus 6.5 playing Houston. Before we get into that, I want to tell you guys it is Friday the 13th. We have an incredible offer up for Friday the 13th. It's 13% off of any package you buy over at Wager Talk. Just use the promo code FRI13. That's FRI13. So let's get into this game on Sunday night. Plus 6.5. It's really held quite firm. I actually thought we would get a 7 on Houston, and I still think we might. If you do plan on betting Houston, I wouldn't wait. There's not that much of a difference between 6.5 and 6, around 4%, but it's about an 8% difference between 6.5 and 7. So wouldn't wait if you plan on betting Houston, and I suggest you do bet Houston. I will make this quick. Until the Bears do something, they are a bet against team, period. Now, I know they beat the Titans last week, so that's something. Well, did they really? It really felt like only one team showed up last week, and that was the Titans. First, their really good team showed up, and then their really bad team showed up. I don't think Chicago had anything to do with that game. They didn't win that game. They didn't lose that game. I don't even know if they were on the field during that game. I think all we saw was the Titans playing great, playing shit. Now, Chicago, well, this team has issues. Defensively, last year, top rushing defense in the league. Last week, they allowed 140 yards rushing on them. Houston put up over 200 yards running against their opponent last week. So I think Chicago has D issues right now. They certainly have offensive issues. This is a team that did nothing last week. They were the single worst offensive team in the entire league last week. 148 yards combined. 84 yards on the ground, in which most of them were, well, useless. And 64 yards in the air, in which most of them were, well, useless. So there we go. Chicago has D issues, offensive issues, coaching issues. And as you all know, if you watch the Prez regularly, they also have pizza issues. Their pizza sucks. So let's move on. Houston. This is a team that looked good last week against Indianapolis. Now, they could have lost that game, fair enough, but I think Indianapolis is a much better team than Chicago and a much better team than most people think. What we do know is this Houston team can score, and they will score. I think they put up close to 30 points against Chicago. So let's assume they put up 28 points. Chicago's not getting 20. Chicago's barely going to get 20 points all year long. I think we could see a 30-17, 28-17 type of a game. I do lean on the over, but I'm not going to get there. I like Houston in this game at -6.5. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Lawrence Presman, and that is your daily presidential address.